Hello, my name is Haley Ledford, and for my presentation on leadership theory, I will be discussing transactional leadership. The definition of transactional leadership is transactional leadership. It's also known as managerial leadership. It is a leadership style where leaders rely on rewards and punishments to achieve optimal job performance from their subordinates. The transactional executive leadership model is based on an exchange or transaction. The best way that I could describe this type of leadership is a very structured and organized environment. So, when you come into a job that uses this form of uh, leadership style, your position usually has very specific goals, very specific objectives, and then if you're not able to meet those goals and objectives, you have the performance and outcome perspective. So you're expected to meet these goals and set structured responsibilities. And if you're not, that's where you see that punishment side of things. So a lot of the times you perform well, which is your give, and otherwise they're going to take and punish you for that. And if you do well, you're going to be rewarded. This is seen often in crisis or management positions. So, in times of crisis, like maybe a tornado, so someone takes leadership and they say, these people need food, water, and a bed to sleep on. So, then your responsibility is provide that to them, and then that's all you can do. It's very short term and very controlled because obviously you can't say rebuild a house or do this in a long term aspect, but you can do what you can to provide them what they need in that moment. My personal experience with this is working um, in a minimum wage job. So, like at a grocery store, I got hired on as a cashier and I was expected to do a list of things. So, I was expected to work on my cashier. Um, I had a till. I was responsible for checking people out, giving them their money back responsibly, and then I was also responsible for keeping a clean work environment and facing the aisles near my register. So after school, I would go to work and I would do all these things. And then when we closed at the grocery store, if we didn't complete our task, we would hear from the morning shift who came in and opened up. They'd say, "Why weren't these faces or why weren't these shelves faced? Why weren't the registers clean?" And then you would see that over time, if you continued to perform inadequately, that you would be punished. You would get a write up, or if you did something improperly, like sold cigarettes to someone and didn't check their ID, you would get in trouble. And like you see that these things are set up in place, these standards, just because that's what they want out of their workers. And if you don't fit that, then you shouldn't be their worker. And as the same thing applies for an RA, our university wants to keep a certain environment within our res halls, so that's kind of a safe and inclusive environment. So as an RA, when I'm on duty, I have to do rounds. I have to check for certain things that they think are necessary. So that's like checking the doors to make sure that they're all locked so we don't have intruders. And then you're listening as you're walking through the halls to make sure that nobody's in harm or there's no parties going on. You just kind of understand what the university has in mind for their res halls, and then you're hired by Residence Life to fulfill that. So then you're creating an inclusive and safe environment on your floor and across the university. um, this management or this leadership position, excuse me, this leadership role is generally managed by like a manager. That's how I've experienced it. And a lot of it is goal oriented. So each shift that I have, I need to do these tasks and then I'm guaranteed that that's done. And same thing with working as a cashier. Like I said, I had all these responsibilities, and that if that wasn't completed, then I'm not fulfilling my position like I should be. And everything was based off of if you do good, you can get another position, you can get a raise. If you do poorly, you won't get a raise, you'll work less hours, and you're punished for those poor performances. Ways that I would develop or improve this form of leadership. I think that I would find ways to focus on individual happiness in the workplace and provide work life balances. I've experienced a couple variations of this form of leadership, but in a in the grocery store that I worked at, there was a more there was a less personal interaction that we had with each other because the grocery store set it up as you come to work, you do these tasks, you leave, you get paid. So nobody really enjoyed their job there, and nobody really had the desire to make great friendships within the staff. And so nobody was willing to like help each other out. So I had a death in the family and I was scheduled to work one day when the funeral was, and obviously nobody plans for a death in their family. But because nobody enjoyed working there, they didn't care if everybody's shifts were covered. Nobody was willing to cover me. So then I'm stuck in a predicament where I can't perform at my job because I'm my mindset is somewhere else, and then I'm not supporting my family. So that I feel like that would be a way to that could change. Find a way to make a happier environment for your workers. I think also having less punishment and reparations for like everybody's actions would equal less turnover. So that ties back to the first thing of nobody's very happy. They kind of just see the position as like not very relevant. So then they're not happy. They're not going to stay long, and they're going to quit. And then the more turnover you have, the less likely you are to make connections with people that you're working with because they might just quit, and it's not really worth the time. And then I think also increasing like time length for goals. I'm not really sure what an example of this would be. So maybe at a grocery store, you with every transaction that a cashier does, you're saying, "Hey, ask them for donations for our cereal drive that we're doing for around Christmas time or something." And so you're going to do this for 2 months instead of just like a week. And then you're going to be like, "This is our objective, and whoever sells the most um, cereal boxes gets a cake or something." You're giving like these bigger goals rather than just every night you need to do these objectives and you'll keep your job. It's kind of, I feel like, increasing the likelihood and keeping people like on their toes and willing and wanting to come to work. This concludes my presentation on transactional leadership. Thank you very much.